Well, if you're here for week 2 of the podcast, thank you so much for clicking on. Again, it means the world to me to have you guys here. Welcome one, welcome all. It is Thursday, September 20th, and this is the second episode of Just Talk if you are new here. And there are some serious storylines coming out of the week 2 NFL season that I'm so excited to touch on. Drama behind the curtain in Pittsburgh. What are the NFL teams, not the Patriots, thinking? That and more on today's episode, and I've also decided that as an addition, I'll be adding timestamps to the description. Skip to what you want instantly and skip over what you don't. Last thing in this intro, remember to subscribe, and let's just get right into this. Do you guys like that intro? Leave it in the comment section below. I feel like it's a good intro. And it just lets me, like, right now, I can just jump straight into topics. I can put a timestamp in right now, and we just talk immediately. It's not like I have to do an intro. I have to think about an intro and then think about a transition into a topic. I can just get straight into a topic. And I just love the way that intro is. And we get to see a little NFL content before we start. And tell me how you guys like this podcast compared to the last podcast. Trying to upgrade things, to spend more time on it. Last week, I kind of rushed to get it out. I got it out late, too. I had issues uploading it. But this week, I want to be on time, so we're going to do I'm going to try and get everything done and do everything perfectly and still have some good content. So let's get right into it. We're starting with the Steelers. Everybody knows the Steelers have been having issues this year. Le'Veon Bell is continuing to sit out the NFL season. They just had Antonio Brown come out and say, trade me on... Well, they didn't say trade me. He said, trade me and find out on Twitter towards somebody that he knew. And the whole Twitter world blew up and said, man, these Steelers are not the Steelers that they should be. They have such a high-powered offense, and all of them are divas. And Pittsburgh ain't doing anything right. This is the downfall of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's done. But I just want to tell everybody to cut it out. Keep it down. Pittsburgh is going nowhere in the AFC. They're going to make the playoffs in the AFC. They had a tough Week 1 matchup against an underrated team that I think they look too much into as a walkover because last year, even though Cleveland did everything this offseason, and it was bad weather for Big Ben, he didn't get his feet under him. Week 1 is not a good week for anybody, and with the weather that they had in that Pittsburgh-Cleveland game, that's a scratch. They tied still, but that's a wash. And then they go into Kansas City. They're at home against Kansas City, actually. They're at home against the Kansas City team that has a quarterback who looks like the second coming of Jesus Christ, or better known, Aaron Rodgers, who's been playing out of his mind. The most touchdowns in the first 2 weeks of football ever, guys. He threw more touchdowns. No, he threw more touchdowns than he had incomplete passes, guys. And Big Ben still put up numbers. Big Ben had more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes did in that game. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, man, to jump to conclusions after this Antonio Brown situation, he put out a tweet and then missed a practice on Monday due to personal reasons, if we can trust his agent. And now everybody's trying to act like in Pittsburgh they're roughed up. And even though Pittsburgh is handling this whole situation with complete and utter perfection, they're literally playing this perfectly. They took Le'Veon off the roster. It looks like some of the teammates are kind of agreeing with the Steelers in the sense that Le'Veon Bell is not playing football, and he's not playing it because of the money, and he's not making enough, even though he's making $14 million a year. But yeah, Big Ben threw for almost 100 more. No, he threw for 100 more yards than Patrick Mahomes, and he had 3 touchdowns too, which isn't too bad. Plus, you see James Conner, and Japan had a rushing touchdown. So it's like, man, don't count out Big Ben Roethlisberger, who's the weak link in that team going into this year was Big Ben. We're going to see how Big Ben could respond to even mentioning retirement last year and the year before, and we're going to see how he responds to the season, and he has been shutting the lights out with teams. And then you have James Conner, who's having a breakout year, has a nose for the end zone. He's not rushing the ball very well. He's not accumulating a ton of yards, but he's finding the end zone more than enough to dominate a lot of teams in this league, just not the Kansas City Chiefs and that Cleveland Brown defense. And the Cleveland Browns, nonetheless, should be 2-0 if they had a kicker. One kicker away from 2-0. That's what the Browns slogan should be. We're one kicker away from having more wins than 2 seasons combined, guys. That's how much the Cleveland Browns improved over this offseason, getting players back. And then they made the mistake of getting rid of Josh Gordon, which is going to be my next topic. But we're going to keep it with the Steelers, where I'm going to wrap it all up and say I'm taking the Steelers top 2 in their division, and they might even edge out Cincinnati to lead that atop that division. And that division is stacked. You got Pittsburgh, who looks to be underrated. They look to be like the underrated team this year, and they've been putting up points. They put up points against Kansas City, who everybody's saying their defense is trash in Kansas City. And then they played a great game against that Cleveland Brown defense that's just dominant. That Cleveland Brown defense is going to be one of the best in the NFL. Next to Chicago, Minnesota, maybe LA, you got the Cleveland Browns defense right up there, and you can tell against the Saints, who have Drew Brees, guys. Drew Brees is a quarterback. So yeah, stop judging the Steelers. They're playing Le'Veon perfectly. Le'Veon doesn't want to play, so the Steelers are like, okay, you don't have to play. Just stay to the sideline. We're going to try and make a move for you. This is going to be the most difficult move we're going to make because we have an all-star who's refusing to play, which makes it difficult for us to set up a trade in his contract year where he's definitely not going to guarantee to a team that trades for him if that team isn't good enough. So why would they put in the assets to trade Pittsburgh? So I would leave him on the bench, leave him franchise tagged. Can't do anything about that. And then you have Antonio Brown, who's going to come back next week. He's going to play, and he's going to tear the lights. He's going to tear the roof off the place. When Pittsburgh, who's Pittsburgh playing next week? Let's go down to week 3. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're going up against, where are they? Oh, they're the Monday night game. They're the Monday night game against the Buccaneers. And even though that Steelers, their biggest issue in Pittsburgh is that secondary, because that secondary is really, really scary if you're a Steelers fan or somebody in the Steelers organization, because, man, that I would get rid of Le'Veon Bell. I wouldn't pay him, and I would pay some people to get into that second. I would have Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib already, and the LA Rams would have never seen him, but the LA Rams seem to be ahead of the game when it comes to moves. But you're going to see that Buccaneers-Steelers game, again, is going to be a high-powered offensive game. Lots of points are going to be scored. It's going to be really exciting. And I think the Steelers are going to edge it out 1-1-1. That's a good... With Le'Veon Bell out like this and them adjusting to all this stuff, I think a 1-1-1 start is good for the Steelers, and I think that they're still going to be right up there in their division. Next, going into the other team in their division, going into the next team in their division, we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, who decided it would be a good idea to let Josh Gordon go after staying with them for 3 years. This guy was recovering for 3 years, where Cleveland was allowing Josh Gordon to recover, rehab, fight some of those inner demons. And then right when he came back, he got a touchdown, one reception, one touchdown for Josh Gordon, and they decided to let him go. So news came out that the Cleveland Browns were going to release Josh Gordon originally. I think that was the original update, but that was just an idea. It was just a prediction. And then news came out later on, I think it was the same day or the day after, that the New England Patriots, the team smarter than any team in this league, decided that they were going to give up a 5th-round conditional pick for a player who was an all-pro. Was it 3 years ago? An all-pro player 3 years ago who Cleveland took, rehabilitated, helped, walked through the process of recovering from addiction, came back, scored a touchdown showing that he still has promise. Even the coach of the Cleveland Browns came out and said that he was showing signs of not wearing down at all. And now the Patriots, out of all teams, the team that nobody likes, decided that they would give up a 5th-round pick where Josh Gordon has to play at least 10 games for it to even stay as a pick, or for them to then they swap picks. So they're going to get an even better pick here. So they're going to get an even better pick if Josh Gordon doesn't pan out. And if he does pan out, he's going to be that player that we all expect him to be. If he stayed and performed to what we thought he was going to perform to be, Josh Gordon would have been an Antonio Brown type player in this league. It's just crazy because you're breaking it down. I'm breaking it down from Cleveland. I thought Cleveland, you can't say Cleveland made a bad move, because if they did this, I just thought they did it too late. Over the 3 years that they've been waiting on Josh Gordon, I think that they could have done it the second year Josh Gordon showed to be recovering. They could have done it first or third. But then you're looking at the Cleveland Browns, and they did the right thing for Josh Gordon. If you're Josh Gordon, I'd be nothing but grateful to Cleveland for helping you through that process, doing their due diligence to help you, and then giving you to a team that's going to compete for the Super Bowl this year. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to compete for a Super Bowl. They rehabbed you and then sent you to a Super Bowl team, so you could be nothing but grateful to the Cleveland Browns. And they just thought that this was the best time to part ways with them. Understandable. Patriots, best move I've seen this year within the lines of the regular season and preseason, because you got the LA Rams, the moves that they made, they're the best team in the NFL now, so clearly their moves may be superior to anything we're going to see in the NFL season this year. But other than that, this is one of the biggest moves for a team. And then it's the rest of the NFL we're thinking about here, because you're thinking about all the teams that could have used the help of Josh Gordon. And the Cleveland Browns said that they wanted to trade him to the NFC originally. I think Adam Schefter said that. So if we look up the NFC football teams, and we go through, Green Bay Packers could use him. That's one. Dallas Cowboys could use him. Vikings, I wouldn't take him if I were the Vikings. You got the Philadelphia Eagles. I wouldn't take him, because just in case, you don't want him to mess up the locker room. So just in case, I'm not taking him for the Vikings, not the Eagles. Seahawks could use him. Doug Baldwin just went down with a knee injury. He would have been a great replacement for Doug Baldwin. Chicago could use him. Trubisky needs some more receivers. He has Allen Robinson. He has a couple good running backs, but he needs some more receivers. The Giants probably wouldn't have. They have a pretty stacked receiving core. 49ers, they're adjusting to Jimmy G. I would have taken him for the 49ers for sure. So now we got 4 teams that could have used them. Atlanta, I don't think Atlanta could use them. I watched the Atlanta-Carolina game, and they were spreading the ball around to a bunch of different receivers that they have. So I don't think the Falcons need them. The Rams are the best team in football. Why mess it up? Wouldn't do it. New Orleans Saints, you have too much talent on offense down there. I'd work on the defense. Washington Redskins could use them. That's for sure. The Washington Redskins did not look good against the Colts this week. They looked good against the worst team in the NFL. So, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, no, they're too hot right now. I would not pick them up. Carolina Panthers could use them. Doesn't look like any player down there is a big-time receiver. They're throwing to Christian McCaffrey 99% of the time. Detroit Lions could use them. Golden Tate and Josh Gordon. That's a dynamic duo right there. And then the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals could use the entire NFL, and they probably still would be the worst team in football. So we're looking at it. We're looking at almost half the teams in the NFC could have traded a 5th-round conditional pick for this guy, and they didn't. And you're looking at teams that are just like so mediocre they're okay with not doing anything. And it's like, man, why? If you're a fan of a bunch of teams, why do you make such mistakes to allow a Patriots team to sign so many players, and they sign them as mercenaries to where they don't even pay for anything that goes wrong? Like, this 5th-round conditional pick is just like peanuts to them. Like, they have Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, and now they're just trading a 5th-round pick for an all-pro receiver that, if he pans out, is going to be one of the biggest picks since Randy Moss, one of the best receivers the Patriots have had since Randy Moss. And you could have said that for a lot of different teams. Like, he would have been probably the best receiver on, let's take a look here. He would have been the best receiver on the Chicago Bears in the past 10 years. Mind me if I'm forgetting somebody. Definitely would have been a top 5 receiver for that team in the past 10 years. You got the Washington Redskins. Who have they really had? Maybe Deshaun Jackson. He would have been a top 5 receiver. And this is the past decade of players. Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd. Larry Fitzgerald you could, but Michael Floyd, you're not going to compare him to Josh Gordon's season that he had 3 years ago. It's just crazy. It's crazy to look at the NFL. It's crazy to give them a pass on this. And it's crazy to see media members talking about how Josh Gordon's going to get another shot and how other players aren't getting the shot. But man, that was a move that any team in the NFL should have made. And even if you're playing Josh Gordon as a 3rd-string receiver, all you got to give up is a 5th-rounder. Why not? Why not is my only opinion on that. Why not? It just baffles me. If you can figure some reason out for it, please let me know. But it just baffles me why not the Cleveland Browns specifically, but why any other NFL team couldn't piece together a 5th-round conditional pick for an all-pro receiver 3 years ago. Talking all past experiences, we haven't seen a really, really good Josh Gordon since 3 years ago, but it's a 5th-round conditional pick, guys. I want to focus on the fact it's a 5th-round conditional pick. Talking about 5th-round conditional picks, Tom Brady, he's a good quarterback. You know who else is a good quarterback? Patrick Mahomes. Next topic on the podcast, Patrick Mahomes. The mighty arm, mighty cannon, Mahomes. He's the QB of the NFL's future. Downright going to say it. He's my pick for MVP this year. You'll see on a lot of shows that they're not going to come out and say anything. It's week 2. Who's going to make a bold prediction this early in the season? I'm taking Mahomes as my MVP. Why? He has the best arm I've seen in football right now. The fastest football I've ever seen thrown. I don't think I've seen a quarterback that throws the ball as hard as Patrick Mahomes does. Aaron Rodgers more accurate. I think Tom Brady makes better decisions. But as far as total arm strength goes, Mahomes is the best there. And then you're looking at an athletic player who can break the pocket. He had a 4.8 40-yard dash time coming out of college. So that's always good to have as a quarterback with rock and arm strength. And then you got the team around him. Kansas City did a great job formulating a great team around Alex Smith, and now they just passed on the franchise to this young quarterback who has probably the strongest arm, can rifle the ball to these talented players around the field. And then you get the QB of the NFL's future, the franchise quarterback of the NFL. And I think within the next 3 years, you're calling it now, episode 2 of the podcast, we're calling Patrick Mahomes two-time Super Bowl champion. I'm calling Mahomes. He's going to have one in 5 years, guaranteed. In the next 5 years, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a Super Bowl, if not within the next 3. Because this guy is just that good with a team that if it sticks together, if the mold of this team stays together, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's a young gun blaster, man. He's a blazer. He's great. Then you have Spencer Ware. That team's just really, really good. And then you have Mahomes, who's just the second coming of the hardest throwing quarterback of all time. So, and then focusing around just his play on the field, if you go look up Colin Cowherd's interview with Patrick Mahomes, it's the only one I could really find to listen to this guy. This guy answers everything perfectly. PG answers, good answers, well thought out answers. He has a good education. He must. I'm going to look up where he went to school. But yeah, in that Cowherd interview, Cowherd was asking him some tough questions like, what was it like playing behind Alex Smith? Did you ever think it was your team? Et cetera, et cetera. And he was answering these questions with class, with great answers. I recommend you go watch that video just to see what I'm saying. But he is a really, really smart and intellectual speaker. So I really, really think that he can have, if he was given the stardom of the NFL, I think he could really carry it and run with it. Where did he go to Where did he go to college? He went to college. He went to Texas. No, that's Texas. That's his high. Yeah, Texas Tech. Went to Texas Tech. Really smart kid. QB of the future. And if you're going to take a summary out of this, I'm calling him the MVP this year, and I think he's going to have 2 Super Bowls, one within the next 5 years. So there you go. Predictions. We just broke down Pittsburgh. We broke down the Josh Gordon trade. We put down the biggest player in football right now. Let's move on. Let's move on to a little bit of a segment that's going to section out some things where we can actually discuss some good old-fashioned things. We're about 15 minutes through, 3 timestamps in. We got 3 timestamps: Pittsburgh, Josh Gordon, and Patrick Mahomes. Now let's move on to what we're going to do is the 5 worst things in the NFL, and then we're going to do the 5 best things in the NFL. This could be a team, a player, something figuratively speaking, something literally speaking. You'll get it from the first pick that I have, the 5th worst thing in the NFL. I'm taking the Browns' luck, the Browns' kicking game. Can this team catch a break? Especially when a team is as good as they are on defense. I love a good defensive team, and the Browns are that. They picked up a great rookie, Denzel Ward. They have Myles Garrett, Jamie Conlon Sr., which could have been a reason for Gordon going to the Patriots, but you have a stacked defense that's just going to grow. They're really young, too. Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, one's a rookie, one is coming off an injured rookie year. So they're both young and developing. Then you got Jamie Collins, who's just going to lead the bunch. And then you got a bunch of other good, solid players around the field. And this should be their breakout year within the division that has all this cloud around them. I would think that they're the second best team in this division if they could just piece together some luck, piece together something to show me that they can prove to be as good as I think they are. And one kicker later, and they're at the bottom of the division. And it's just like, it's horrible to think the Browns' luck and the Browns' kicking game could be this bad. They're almost number 1 on my top 5 worst list, but there is 4 other things I'm really laughing about. Number 4, I have the New York Giants as a team in the 5 worst. I have 2 more teams in this top 5 worst, and I think this team needs way more time to develop. I think that they were too rushed into stardom. Saquon Barkley needs time to develop in the league. Odell Beckham needs some time, and Eli Manning needs to move away from football. I think the O-line is the worst O-line in football. It's just flat out bad. The team just lost to the Cowboys, who I think are bad as well. Not in this list, but they're bad. And they definitely need to address a lot of issues to avoid being last in their division, which I did not expect, and I'm putting them at the 4th worst. They might not be the 4th worst thing here, but I just think the way that they were projected to be this year and the way they're playing this year, they don't line up, and they can move off this list really quickly. But as for now, I have them here. Number 3 is a player, first player on the list, and the only player on this list. I'm taking Jameis Winston. So let's go through a past of Jameis Winston. He comes out of college. Everybody says that he has personality issues. Marcus Mariota comes out with him. They're saying he's a better quarterback because he has better personality. They're both very, very skilled, but one has a bad attitude, one doesn't. Mariota goes on to get hurt, playing good right now. Jameis Winston goes on to reach the bottom of the NFC South. He goes down to suspension for 4 games going into the season, and Fitzpatrick comes in. What happens against the NFC South defending champion, New Orleans Saints, and the defending Super Bowl champions with the defending Super Bowl champion MVP quarterback, Nick Foles? A 2-0 team that nobody thought was going to go 2-0, with a substitute quarterback who was pinned Fitzmagic, and a team that looks the happiest we've seen in the past, I don't even know how many years of them reeking the bottom of the division. And now there's a debate for whether Winston should return. If Fitzpatrick goes on to lose the next 2 games, throwing more interceptions than TDs, I'm keeping him in for the 5th game. Just the way he's played these 2 games. Tampa would be 1-3 if Winston was in, so they're already better than that. Number 2 worst things in the NFL. The next 2 are teams that you could flip-flop in and out. They're just 2 really, really big jokes. One just allowed 34 unanswered points and has scored 6 points within 58. They have a 52-point differential. And you can chalk up a Sunday, Thursday, or Monday night game against the Arizona Cardinals as a W. Hopefully, we get to see Rosen soon, but even if you're going to throw Rosen into the fire with the team that he has around him, they are horrible. They paid David Johnson, who is just not doing anything, and then they have a defense that's just trash. Like the Arizona Cardinals, like on everybody's list, it either goes Arizona or my number 1 spot, the Buffalo Bills, a team that had a player retire mid-game. So Arizona, you're getting off a little bit easy here because I got to move on to Buffalo, who has a horrible O-line, horrible receiving core, young quarterback, horrible backup quarterback who was the starting quarterback going into the season, LaShawn McCoy, horrible running backs behind that, a good defense that's playing horrible, and it's just not good. It's not good. I like the way they played against the Chargers. It's tight between them and Arizona to me as the worst pick in the NFL, but it's crazy to see how far the Bills have fallen from last year, making the playoffs. They did make the playoffs due to some circumstances, but they made the playoffs nonetheless, and now they're this. They're a team with players retiring at halftime. It's just not good in Buffalo. Number 1, that was it. Now we're going on to the number 5 best things in the NFL. So I hope you guys got the concept of the 5 worst things in the NFL. We could go into something like the Browns' luck and a player and a team. And we're going to go into the 5 best things I've seen from the first 2 weeks of football. At number 5, this is actually crazy because my MVP pick for quarterback is at number 5. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. In general. I'm going to say in general because their defense puts them to number 5. I would probably say they're number 2. With their defense, they're number 5. He's showing signs to be an all-time great, Patrick Mahomes. I've already talked about it. And he's just surrounded by as many weapons as you could see, running and passing the football. They're 5 because we all expected the Steelers to give up so many points with the secondary that they have. But we really need to see more from that Kansas City defense, even though they were against the Steelers. We literally saw exactly what we thought we were going to see. A Steelers high-powered offense against a shitty Kansas City defense, and a high-powered Kansas City offense against a horrible Pittsburgh Steelers secondary. Which is easy enough, and I'm not going to overrush the Kansas City Chiefs, but I overrush Patrick Mahomes, but I'm not going to do it with the Chiefs, and I'm putting them at number 5. The number 4 best thing I've seen this NFL season is the Chicago Bears defense. I want to make this absolutely clear that I'm specifically talking about the Chicago Bears defense. I don't like their offense. I don't like Mitchell Trubisky. I think he's inconsistent as a quarterback. I think he doesn't produce in the clutch, and I think he needs a lot of more time to develop. But this defense was good last year. They had Khalil Mack, and they're probably playing the scariest football out of any defense in the NFL. They're 14th on the power rankings that I watched today. I think it was the NFL power rankings. They ended up at 14, and it's all because of their defense. Their offense has done nothing to produce anything out of the top 25, like the bottom 25, and their defense has just been catapulting them. They're leading the league in sacks with 10. They made Russell Wilson's night horrible this week. They injured Aaron Rodgers for a partial second of a game. This defense, number 4 best thing in the NFL. Number 3. I'm not. We're gonna get into in just a second, but I'm gonna say first. I'm gonna precede these comments with saying that Kirk Cousins and the Vikings offense are a solid thing and deserve to be recognized. But with the 3rd spot, I'm talking Aaron Rodgers, only player in the top 5 best. A defense. I'm gonna focus on the defense of the Minnesota Vikings that has scared everyone. We had Max Kellerman talking about how we should not let Aaron Rodgers go in. He's too crazy to play against this defense. I was saying that last week. I said that they shouldn't play Aaron Rodgers if he's hurt because this defense is insanely scary. Putting Rodgers in would be bad for his health. But what did he do? He goes out and puts up some points and ties the Minnesota Vikings, screaming at every second how the Minnesota Vikings are a complete joke in the NFL. And it was just awesome to see a player of that caliber with the Week 1 performance that he, like a deity-like Week 1 performance, going into this week with all the naysayers talking about that injury and him just proving that he is the king of that division. With a team like Green Bay around him that is not good at all, he's just proving that he is the best quarterback in the league right now. Not my MVP, but he's the best quarterback in general. He's more accurate than Mahomes, and he makes better decisions than Mahomes, but Mahomes is just a little more gifted at his age. So that's number 3 best, Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, we got Jacksonville. Jacksonville Jaguars team with the Week 2 Bortles. That team in general, really scary. These guys didn't have their top 5 running back in the NFL, and they decided to completely outclass the defending AFC champions. This defense played well against Tom Brady, and Ramsey lived up to the talk. Everybody loves watching Ramsey. He could make the top 5 best list by himself if his team wasn't here, but the way he talks and the way he comes out to try and produce every night is awesome. He's the Russell Westbrook of the NFL with a little trash talking on the side, but Bortles is the focus here. He made his presence felt. I thought it was a top 5 performance of the week by a player in general, and he just went out and completely outclassed. He outclassed Tom Brady this week. So I'm excited to see where the Jacksonville Jaguars can go. A lot of people attribute it to the fact that they're playing in crazy heat in Jacksonville this early in the year. But I'm excited to see how far Jacksonville can take it with their defense. Their defense seems to turn it on in the playoffs, so I'm excited for them. They're coming in at number 2 best. Number 1, obvious. Everybody's saying it. If you look up a top 10 list, you can't have these guys anything other than number 1. I'm taking the LA Rams as the number 1 best thing in football. They just shut out a team 34-0. I don't care if you're the Browns of the last year when you get all your players injured. It's hard to blow out an NFL team 34-0. And had a Week 1 game against Oakland, who looks like a good team after Week 2, and just blew them out of the water. They have the best secondary in the NFL. They have the best corner in the NFL by age in Marcus Peters, young, athletic, amazing. Caught a pick 6, I think, in Week 1. And then they have Aqib Talib, who is just the most annoying, pesky defensive player probably in the NFL. Snatching chains, snatching INTs. He's a really, really bad player. He's a really, really tough player. He's a player you don't want to go against if you're not the Rams. It's not a player that you want to back if you're not a Rams fan. If you're not a Rams fan, you don't like this guy. But if you are a Rams fan, you got to love him. Then they have the best defensive player in the NFL, arguably against Khalil Mack, in Aaron Donald, who can plug up any middle. Any offensive line against Aaron Donald, it's going to be a rough night. He's just great. He's the same thing as Khalil Mack. He could be put on any team and just make that defense one of the best. And then you're throwing in Todd Gurley, who's an all-time great running back. He's going to be a Hall of Famer for sure if he keeps performing like this, who didn't have a good running game but ran for 3 touchdowns. He has a nose for the end zone. He has a nose for breaking out. Great running back. Then you throw in Jared Goff, young quarterback with a bunch of weapons around his receiver. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, who can take the top off the defense. This team is made to win the Super Bowl this year. Can they execute in the playoffs? We're going to have to see. But as for after Week 2, they're my number 1 best thing in the NFL right now. What are your thoughts on these 2 lists? Please let me know in the comments section below. Again, if you're enjoying all of this, I love you all. I'm going to take a little break here, and then we're going to come back addressing some of my picks from last week, and then we're going to take some underdogs for this week. I don't want to go through rapid fire because rapid fire took way too long last week. Took up the entire podcast, and since we're already 28 minutes through, I want to keep this podcast at 45 minutes, so we'll address the picks, we'll do some underdog picking, and we'll enjoy ourselves. So enjoy this little, what should we play? We're going to play some football highlights, I guess. Enjoy it, and then I'll see you guys in a minute. But now I just want to go into my picks from last week. In my takeaway segment, I did a section where I picked who would win and who would lose, and honestly, I didn't do that well. I want to say I didn't do that well due to a bunch of kickers missing field goals, a bunch of teams I was too overhyped on jumping to the gun, and then there were a couple teams that came out and just told me off, which we'll get to. So last week I picked I picked the Ravens over the Bengals. I thought the Ravens were the best team in that division. C.J. Mosley went down. That's a big hurt to their defense. They decided to come back. I thought it was a war. I did say it was going to be a war. I thought the Ravens were going to pull it out because of last year, but they didn't look like they had any extra energy. I think that they were just playing as the Baltimore Ravens that they are instead of coming out like they lost that they did last year. And the Bengals took out a win, which was crazy to me, but it happened. Chiefs Steelers got that one right. Steelers secondary is atrocious. Patrick Mahomes, solid quarterback. Proved my point there. Got that one right. Dolphins Jets. If you're a Dolphins fan, you can get on my ass because I said that the Dolphins, I'm skeptical about the Dolphins. Everybody was skeptical about the Dolphins. Don't come at me. Come at everybody. But everybody said the Dolphins were going to be good this year. They're proving everybody wrong. Solid running game, J.J. They did play the Jets. I was big on the Jets because of the way that Darnold played against the Lions. But again, I'm not thinking slow. I'm trying to jump to a conclusion on young quarterbacks when you never can. And it just happened that the Dolphins are not a joke this year. Eagles Buccaneers got that one right. I said Fitzpatrick could do it. I said that the Eagles without Carson Wentz aren't good enough. I can't believe I picked the Buccaneers, but I did, and they won, so I'll take that. Browns Saints, I took the Browns. Browns should have won. Fuck them. Fuck the kicker. He was fired immediately. Going on to the next one. Colts Redskins, said Andrew Luck was going to come out and play. He didn't come out and play that well, but he did enough to get the win. I got that one right. Chargers Bills, correct the mundo. Bills are trash. Chargers are good. Chargers got the win. Vikings Packers. Now, this one probably hurt the most because I said that the Vikings had the best defense in football and that I wouldn't have started Aaron Rodgers against these killers, but I was 100% proven wrong on that point. The Vikings defense did not look like they had the answer to Aaron Rodgers, as Aaron Rodgers is a damn good quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks we have ever seen in the NFL. So they tied. Do I get that one wrong? Technically, I guess. I'm going to say I got that one wrong because of the plain fact that I gave so much to the Vikings defense. Panthers Falcons, I'm going to say this was a fan in me saying that they were going to win. I think everybody had the Falcons winning. I thought the Carolina Panthers defense could do enough, but the way the Falcons moved the ball through the air, I was completely wrong. Texans Titans, fuck, was I wrong on this? I said it was going to be a blowout. I said it was going to be a blowout for the Texans. I'm jumping the gun on the Texans again, listening to too many people jumping the gun on a team that isn't that good. Their defense is, but their offense isn't. DeAndre Hopkins is their only receiver. Deshaun Watson can throw the ball really far, but he can't target the ball very well. So that was just to jump the gun in my opinion. Cardinals, Rams, don't even want to get into this. The Rams are the best team in football. The Cardinals are the worst team in football. Got that one right. You had the 49ers and the Lions. Jimmy G bounced back. People said Jimmy G, that it was out for Jimmy G. People were doubting the hype, but I had him winning. And then you had just a good win for the 49ers. Raiders, Broncos. I don't like John Gruden from the way that he dealt with Khalil Mack. But as a coach, he looks like he's better than I expected. Still got that pick right, 0-2 for the Raiders. Patriots, Jaguars. I said the Pats were going to win this, but this was the hardest choice for me. The Patriots ended up losing because of Blake Bortles, which was probably... I didn't predict Blake Bortles to come out and do that. And I predicted Brady and Gronk to be dominant again, and I was completely false again. So now we're just going... The rest of the games are just going to be me getting it wrong. We got the Giants and Cowboys. I thought the Cowboys weren't that good. I thought the Giants were. I thought the Giants have a lot of talent on offense. Damn, was I wrong, all because of that O-line. I'm definitely not going to make that mistake again in my picks, but sadly the Giants O-line is just not good. Seahawks and Bears. We finally ended off on Monday. I said the Seahawks were going to win. I said Khalil Mack could have 4 good quarters of football. I said Mitchell Trubisky couldn't have 4 good quarters of football. Mitchell Trubisky had 4 average quarters of football. Khalil Mack had 4 amazing quarters of football, and they got my prediction wrong. and the Seahawks ended up beating the Bears. So in general, let's just go through how many I got wrong. No, I'm going to say how many I got right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7. I got 7 picks right. 3 were bullshit. I think 3 were bullshit in my opinion. And then the rest I got wrong fair and square. I won't make the mistake again. It's week 2. Week 1 can always... Week 1's always the week where you jump to conclusions. Week 2 is always where you get put back in your seat. Week 3 is always where you're making educated guesses. I like to think that I did well for myself in my picks. Maybe you would disagree with me. But let's just quickly cut through week 3. I'm going to cut through the picks for week 3. I'm going to see who I think is going to win in week 3 NFL. So let's see who we're going to take in week 3 of the NFL season. We have the Jets and Browns. Browns get their first win, or does Gonzalez miss 13,000 kicks? It's a Thursday night game. I'm excited. I'm taking the Browns. Bills, Vikings. Vikings. Fuck the Bills. Giants, Texans. Woo! 2 teams that I thought were good that didn't come out to play. Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, Giants O-line. Am I going to eat my words on this one? I'm taking the Texans by a wide margin. We'll see. So I got Browns, Vikings, Texans. I'm going to take the Packers over the Redskins. Redskins proved to me that the only reason they won in week 1 is because they were against the Cardinals. Packers with Aaron Rodgers proved to me that Aaron Rodgers is GOAT. 49ers, Chiefs. This one's going to be a good game. Probably going to be a shootout again. I'm taking the Chiefs to go 3-0. The Chiefs just have proved to be too good right now. With 10 touchdowns, if you're going against the Chiefs this week, you're probably crazy. I'm taking the Chiefs over the 49ers. Raiders, Dolphins. Could John Gruden start off 0-3? Are they going to start giving up games now that they're 0-2 and they probably look like they don't have much to do this year? I'm going to say no. I'm going to take Oakland in this game. Hesitantly, I've picked against the Dolphins in week 1, 2, and 3, even though you guys didn't get my week 1 picks. But I'm taking the Raiders. Colts, Eagles. I think that this one's going to be rather good. If Carson Wentz comes back in form, I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking to take the Eagles in this game. See, I don't like speculating. I think Carson Wentz is going to be playing. I'm taking the Eagles. If Nick Foles plays, I still think the Eagles got a good chance of winning. Taking the Eagles. Titans, Jaguars. I'm taking the Jaguars. Titans won against the Texans. Did I overhype the Texans a bit? Maybe. Maybe the Titans beat the Jaguars too, but again, I don't think that the Titans are this good. I'm taking the Jaguars in week 3. Panthers, Bengals, great game. This is going to be a good war. The Bengals have a lot of talent around the field. I kind of like the Bengals. I like looking at the Bengals as being the same team as Atlanta. I'm taking the Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals over the Panthers. If the Panthers can't beat the Falcons, I don't think that they can beat the Bengals. Broncos, Ravens. I'm taking the Broncos. We'll see if the Ravens can bounce back and be what everybody thought they were going to be. I'm taking the Broncos in this game. Broncos are 2-0. They have a good defense. And the Ravens don't have a good offense. So we're going to take the Broncos. Saints, Falcons. That should be a good game. I'm taking I think this is the upset. I'm taking the Saints. They might be the favorites. I think that they're the underdog in this game. They should have lost to the Browns. They lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Falcons are on a roll. But I'm going underdogs in this game. I like the Saints. I like Drew Brees. They're 1-1. I think that their defense is going to slowly start to form into what they were last year. I'm taking the Saints in week 3. Chargers, Rams. Woo! That's a good game. Chargers have a good team, man. It's hard to go against the Chargers, but in this case, I have the Rams as the number 1 team in the NFL. I'm going to stick back by them in my picks for week 3, but this is probably a good chance of them getting their first loss of the year, and maybe one of their only losses of the year if they're going to lose only 4 games. Cardinals, Bears. I'm taking the Bears by a landslide in this one. Cardinals are the worst team in football, or comparatively to the Buffalo Bills. Cowboys, Seahawks. Now, the Cowboys are getting some favorable matchups here. Seahawks didn't look like they had a great O-line, but it was against Chicago. Granted, it was against Chicago. Maybe we take the Cowboys again. The Cowboys go 2-1 this year? I wasn't thinking it, but I'm taking Cowboys. I'm taking that prediction over seeing the Seahawks when I didn't like the Seahawks against the Bears. So I'm taking the Cowboys. Seahawks 0-2, maybe 0-3 this year. That would be rough for a Seahawks team who doesn't know much other than success. But Patriots and Lions, Patriots, that's pretty obvious. Steelers, Buccaneers, I'm taking the Bucs. And those are my picks for this week. I think the Buccaneers are going to... I'm going to put this out there. The Buccaneers are going to slap the Steelers. Well, it's going to be a really, really high-scoring game. It should be a good... The Monday and Thursday night games are actually going to pan out to be very good games. I think Darnold will bounce back this week against the Browns. I still think the Browns are better than a lot of teams in the NFL, so I'm taking them. And then you have the Steelers-Buccaneers, which is going to be 100% a shootout. So we'll see how I can do with those picks. That'll wrap up. We really pretty much did rapid fire again there. I broke down my picks and then went into the next picks. We'll break down my picks again. How should we wrap up the podcast this week? I've touched on everything I've wanted to touch on. I picked my picks for week 2. I went over my picks for week 2. I went over my picks for week 3. I went into the storylines of the NFL season. If something comes up between now and the release of the podcast, I might add a little section of breaking news. But as for that, that's about all I've wanted to cover in this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found anything I've said wrong, false information, I'm bullshitting you, please leave it in the comment section below. If you're a Miami fan, be sure to talk shit to me if they're going to win this week, because I'm picking against them for the 3rd straight week, even though they have come out and proven me wrong. I'm still going against them. So if you're Miami Dolphins fans, please tell me why I'm wrong. I don't really watch the Dolphins anyway. They fucking suck. Shitty team. But, yeah. Be sure to debate me in the comments section below. Leave a like on the video if you want me to make more of these. That really just shows me that I have people that are enjoying it. And that leaves me to be happy. I get happy if somebody wants me to make these videos. And then subscribe to the channel if you want to catch the updates. I think I'm going to release a couple more upcoming videos for the UFC as it pertains to a huge matchup in October, but that has nothing to do with this podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching this podcast in the day, have a great day. If you're watching it at night, have a great night, and let's hope for a great week 3 of football. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. This has been the Just Football Talks podcast. Signing off, JFT. Talk to y'all later. Peace.